let's talk about how to teach melody. Now, I have a confession before we start, and that is, I have this theory that pretty much every music teacher is either more comfortable, better at teaching rhythm or teaching melody. I'm better at teaching rhythm. Rhythm is my jam. I can teach rhythm all day long. If I had a whole class just about rhythm, I would be so happy. We've got rhythm down. I have worked on it. I have worked and we've got it down. I have so many fun things that we can do and we have all these different things. But when it comes to melody, especially at first, I was much less comfortable. Now, the good news for you is that we've fast forwarded a couple years, and so I have learned how to teach melody, both from taking classes, reading books, learning from the experts, and also from just what has worked in my classroom. And so I know a lot more now than I did when I first started, which hopefully is the case with you too. So in this video, we're gonna talk about how to teach melody, specifically talking more about the solfege side. We're not talking about the treble clef side today because I consider that to be a completely different skill, but we are gonna talk about how to teach melody. Warning, it starts very slow, but once the kids get the basics, then you can just like rock and roll and add more things as you go. So where do you start with melody? The very first thing you start with is high and low. Now the good news is most kids already have some exposure to high and low, so it's a little bit easier to do than like other concepts, but that's where you're gonna start, is what is high, what is low. And so you can do lots of different things to, you know, do that. I love doing little chants, and we do them in our really high voice and then our really low voice. We'll talk about different animals and kind of, you know, are they higher pitched, or are they lower pitched, and just kind of talk, you know, like how would an elephant talk? An elephant would talk down here versus like a little hummingbird would talk way up here. And there's a lot of things you can do that way. You could bring in books and have the different characters have different voices, higher and lower. All of these things would be excellent ideas. I also love to bring in some different songs. Specifically, I have two favorite songs for high and low. And that is, number one is Hedwig's theme from Harry Potter, because you have that that's super high and you can hear it very well. So they can very clearly hear the distinction between the high and the low. We use this with scarves, and we literally just, you know, wave up here when it's high and down here when it's low, and they pretty much get it. My really favorite song to listen to while we're working on high and low is Fairies and Giants by Elgar. This one is so much fun, but I will admit that I change it and we don't call it Fairies and Giants, I call it Fairies and Monsters. Because even though small is high, big is low, that is science you should know, I like monsters better because we talk about the fairies being up high and the monsters crouching down low. And that's a better visual for me than the, you know, the giants being big. That's, you know, more complex, I personally feel like. So we go with fairies and monsters. And so what we do is we listen to this song, and you can hear when the fairies come out. And so when the fairies come out, we fly around. If they don't want to be fairies, we can be butterflies, we can be bees, we can be dragonflies, whatever they want. And we fly around while we hear the high parts. During the low parts, then we crouch down to the floor and we stomp the steady beat, and we make like mean monster faces, and they love making mean monster faces. It's hilarious. And then if they're kind of in the middle, there's a little bit of like an intro, then they can just be in the middle, and that's fine too. This is super helpful. We do it usually 2 or 3 times. We'll do it in their seats, we'll do it around the room if they can handle it. And I also love having a poster with like a fairy on one side and a monster on the other, so they can kind of get that idea of like high and low, and they can visually see it if they're having trouble figuring it out. This really helps for them to figure out high and low, which is step number 1 with melody. I also will mention that I do like to play high and low things. So high and low instruments. On the piano, I'll play high notes, low notes, and we'll just say this is high or this is low. That's a really quick assessment that you can do for the kiddos, and just play like really high notes and then really low notes. Or you can, again, play different instruments, play different things so that they can hear just different things, but just having them respond with high or low, or high and low, will help you out. Then we move on to step 2, which is upward and downward. So once they figure out high and low, they can figure out, you know, going up and going down. There's a ton of different things that you can do for this. Number 1 would be anything that involves, you know, songs that go up and songs that go down. You can trace the melody to literally any song in the whole entire world. One of my favorites, we're always doing this during the fall, and so anything that just goes up or down, especially if it goes like up and down scale wise, is really helpful. I love to do this with a song that I now can't think of the name of, but it's like falling leaves. Let me look it up so I'm not telling you random things. Okay, so I found this on Pinterest. It is from Music with Miss Tannenblatt. And so I think it's a folk song because it says transcribed by. So I will see if I can link this down below. I had a really hard time finding it, so I can't guarantee I can link it down below, but it's called Down Down. And it goes down the scale and then up the scale. So it's down, down, yellow and brown, the leaves are falling all over town. Up, up, up they fly, over the roof, back into the sky. And so it just goes, do, ti, la, 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 so, so, fa, fa, mi, mi, re, 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 do, re, do, re, mi, mi, fa, so, 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 la, la, ti, 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 do. And so with this one, we pretend like our hands are leaves and we go down, down, yellow and brown, and then we come back up. Easy, easy peasy to really get it in their bodies. I also love to add chants into anything, and there's a lot of chants that talk about going up and down. One of my favorites is the King of France. I will link down below. I have like a free chant PDF where it's got like visuals for all these different chants. So this is in that one, but it's the King of France went up the hill with 40,000 men. The King of France came down the hill and never went back again. So we do this chant quite a few times, and we go up and we go down the hill, you know, and then we add in some instruments and we have the kids play the xylophones or the glockenspiels going up and then going down. So we have to talk about, you know, all the different things. And with this is also really good because we can talk about the xylophones and which way is up. And so we talk about how it looks like a mountain. So the small part is the top of the mountain. That's gonna be the highest part. And the big part is the bottom of the mountain. It's gonna be the lowest part. And so we work on that, and we'll take turns doing that one day where they just each, you know, get a quick little turn to go through. We also do Jack and Jill. So we'll do Jack and Jill went up the hill. Sorry. Jack and Jill. We do Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. And we'll also do those on the xylophone, same kind of thing. Third one, hickory dickory dock. So we do hickory dickory dock. The mouse ran up the clock struck one, the mouse ran down, hickory dickory dock. And again, you can add that on the barred instruments if you want to. You don't have to, but you can. So all three of those would work. They're all very simple. They're all very easy. The kids love them all, and really, really great. Then I also love to use some books. So like Mortimer is one of my favorites because Mortimer is about a little boy who won't go to bed, so his parents keep going up the stairs to tell him to go to bed, and then they go down the stairs once they are done telling him to go to bed. And so we do this, and I'll read it, and every time they go up, they'll I'll do, and then the kids go like clunk 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 clunk, I think is what it says. Clunk, 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 clunk. And then we'll add that to the xylophones as well. So we go up the xylophones, down the xylophones at the correct time, and it's a great time. Songs that are good for this. Also, I love using the song O mio babino caro. This is one of my favorite opera songs. If you have seen the new Disney movie Luca, it's the one that's playing at the beginning, which I'm not gonna lie, like first 5 minutes of the Disney movie, they're playing O mio babino caro, which is one of my favorites, and I was just like, I am sold. I don't care what the rest of the movie is about. I love it. So nice, so great, and it's just such a beautiful song. But I love this one because it has really dramatic going up and going down passages, so it's really easy to follow. So we a lot of times will use scarves and we follow the up and the down. There's these like octave jumps, and so they're really dramatic and really easy to find. I also love a song called Im Herbst by Robert Franz. These are both one pieces that I sang in college, but you know, it's okay. And so this one's really fun, and it has these really stepwise passages where it goes up, 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 down, 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 and so they're really easy to follow. Im Herbst means in autumn, so again, I'm always teaching this in the autumn, and so it is like perfect for fall lessons. Pair it with that down down song, and it's a great time. There's obviously a ton of other ideas that you can do for up and down, but those are just a couple of my favorites. So let's move on to step number 3. Once you've figured out high and low and higher and lower and upward and downward and all that stuff, then we're gonna bring it in specifically all the way down to a minor third. So we're gonna do so and mi. That's the typical Kodai way to start with here in the US. Some people like do, re, mi. We're gonna go with so, mi with the little people. I use do re mi with the older kids, but you know, it's okay. So with little people, we're gonna do so and mi, and we put so up here on our shoulders, mi down here on our legs, and we start by just echoing patterns and singing songs. So like this week we're doing Starlight, Star Bright, and so I was like, awesome, I'm gonna sing a song, follow my hands. Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. Wish I may, wish I might have this wish I wish tonight. Easy, easy peasy. They just have to follow my hand, so they don't really have to do much. You could also do, you know, have them do up and down. You can also do, obviously, the hand signs that go along with them, but I usually teach those more in like 3rd grade, because with 1st and 2nd and kindergarten, but because with 1st and 2nd, they just, I don't know, this is easier than this is. So I save that until they're a little bit older, but you could do that if you wanted to. We'll do a lot of songs and a lot of patterns that are so and mi without them knowing what so and mi are. Sometimes we'll just echo sing patterns back and forth, and then finally we'll put some stuff on the board, and usually they get it pretty quickly because we'll sing it and I'm like, great, what happened when my hands went down? They're like, oh, your voice got lower. I'm like, yeah, what happened when my hands went back up? Oh, it got higher. Awesome. Then I'll put a dot on the board and I'm like, okay, so here's my first note. We got starlight. Did I go up and down there like that? Oh, you went down. I'm like, great. And so then I'll draw a dot down, and we can kind of notate it that way, just with dots, no staff, no nothing, so that they can kind of see the like pictorial graphs. After that, they can actually do it themselves. So you can give out some manipulatives and have them show the highs and the lows of the song that you're working on or the pattern that you're creating, and they can do that pretty easily. Once they can show you that they understand by, you know, doing the hand signs, by doing the things on the with the manipulatives, then they're showing you that they're kind of ready to move on. In my Kodai training, because I did my Kodai 1 course this year, and so we talked about having auditory, kinesthetic, and visual preps. So kinesthetic being those like, oh, copy me. And then auditory being like if I sang it and the kids did it without my help, or they, you know, did kind of like up and down with their finger or something like that. And then the visual prep being them like doing manipulatives or something like that to show me that they are ready to move on. Once they can figure that out, then they're ready to actually know what so and mi are. And so then I'll introduce them to so and mi, and we'll spend a couple of classes really practicing so and mi by, again, manipulatives. We'll do more so and mi songs. We'll talk about them. We'll sight read. We'll do all the things to make sure we know them. At this time, we're also going to talk about what the staff is, and we'll talk about line notes and space notes and higher and lower. And I always tell them the staff is like a map. So if it's higher, it's higher up. If it's lower, it's lower down. Easy, easy peasy. The trick comes in having them figure out, you know, like the lines versus the spaces and kind of how far to put everything. So I would suggest maybe the first time you do it, start on like E and G, and then the second time you do it, put them in spaces so that they get used to sometimes on a line, sometimes on a space. You really want to emphasize that it's the relationship between the notes and not where it is on the staff until we get a treble clef, unless you're Canadian or French or one of those places where they have absolute pitch, in which case you can ignore everything I'm saying. Now, it took us a very long time to get here, and in reality, it will again take a very long time to get here because there's a lot of prep work that needs to be done in order for your kids to really get it. But the good news is that now, once they know so and mi, it's so much easier to teach the next note. So like my second graders, so my third graders were a little behind because of COVID. My third graders are working on law right now. And so like we were singing songs and we had so and mi already, they already know that one. And then, you know, I threw in, oh, now we're going up to our head, and they were able to be like, oh, hey, that's higher than so. And I'm like, great. And we can, again, notate it on the board with some little dots, and we can have them do it. And all of these different things that show the same thing and kind of the same strategy, but it's a lot easier once they already know so and mi, because then they can figure out, oh, law is really close. The tricky part comes in making sure they understand that so and mi are a skip apart, whereas law is a step apart, because that tends to be a little bit complicated. But just make sure you really drill it in that law and so are closer than mi and so are. And there's lots of little tricks you can do. I would say that so and mi are copycats, and so if so's on a line, mi's on a line. If so's on a space, if mi's in a space. Law likes to be different, and so it's always the opposite of so, and just different things like that can help them to remember, and you can kind of, you know, throw that out there. I would also say one really cool thing I saw in my Kodai class is that when we did like our presentations, one of the people did a folk song, and the first thing she did, assuming that we already knew some of those things, is she had like little clip art of the hand signs, like, you know, the so and the me and stuff. And the first thing she did was have us put that next to where so was gonna be on the staff, and I thought that was a really cool idea, so that you could see, okay, so is here today, and then next time, you know, again, you can put so wherever so is. And so that's just really a good quick way for kids to understand like where it would be in the staff, and then they can find everything else from there. Another thing to help them with that is usually I just tell them what the first note is, and then from that they can figure out the rest of the notes. So, you know, there's that. Now, after you've gotten that one, again, it's so much easier. Then you can move on to la, you can add in do, and you can keep going, and just life gets much less complicated. I will link down below a link to a Kodai sequence, a like sample Kodai sequence from the Holy Names University, and they have the order to teach the solfa in, so you can check that out. I would completely ignore their grade levels because I don't know how many times those people saw their kids, but it's way more than I see my kids, because there is no way in the world we are getting to all of those concepts in 1 year, but you can at least see, you know, the progression of them. And for reference, typically I don't see kindergarten, so my goal is to get to so and me in 1st grade. Last year I didn't, so 2nd grade's learning so and me now at the beginning of the year, and then 2nd grade I like to do la and do, and on a really good year we could get to re, probably not, but you know, and then we can do re in 3rd grade, and just, you know, so on and so forth. I will also throw in, I did not mention that with so and me and other things, you can also use the xylophones. Those are really good to help show that skip versus step. And a really easy way to do it is I will put little like sticky notes on so and me, and so they just know these are the 2 that we're playing. You can also obviously take all the bars off, but it's faster to just put those down, and then they can get used to seeing all of the bars. And so that's a really easy thing to do, and I've actually done that as a prep this time, because they could figure out pretty quickly, you know, which one's higher, which one's lower, and then relate that to our song. And they did a really good job with that. All right, with that, I'm gonna go now. If you are watching this because you are a new teacher, then I would definitely check out the new teacher mini course down below. It is a free, I'm not even gonna like try to sell you anything, free mini course in which we will go through some of the main topics, like how to teach melody, how to teach rhythm, what to teach, what order to teach, how to set up your classroom management, like all of these really good things that you need to know in order to teach, but you probably didn't learn in college. So click the link down below. Each day you get, it's like a really quick video, 20 minutes max, and then lots of resources, some freebies, some videos, some blog posts, just all these different things if you want to learn more, or you can just watch the one and then come be like, okay, I'm done. It's certainly not everything you need to know, but it is a good like jumping off point and starting point. So click the link down below to join that, and I will see you guys next time if you hit the subscribe button.